Hello, I'm Glenn W. Hunter, Board President of Touchstone Youth Resource Services, and this is subject matter expert Shor Denny, CEO, President of Community Now, a leading social emotional learning organization based out of Moreno Valley in the Inland Empire, Southern California. Today we're going to talk about holiday stressors.
Awesome.
We're having the holiday times now, a lot of festivities, people having a good time.
Ho, ho, ho.
And then there's the other side. So, sure. When you think about the holidays and they're coming in, what are folks telling you that are really kind of bogging them down? What's one of the big topics that you have to endure in working with folks out there in the community?
Well, it would be the partying. I think is one of the main things we think about at the New Year. Is that New Year's Eve party, where we're going to go, what we're going to wear.
You know, the thing about the parties is there's so many elements that we see just out in our community. You know, one of the things I think we have to really be mindful of is the safety component. One of the things that go with parties is the liberty to enjoy certain beverages, and alcohol becomes a big part of holiday celebrations. Particularly when you start thinking about New Year's, firearms also come into play.
Guns and alcohol don't mix.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Guns and alcohol don't mix.
Want to make sure we got that point across, because there's a lot of trauma, both in families, with individuals, and definitely in our community as a result of that. You know, and I think the first place we want to start with is just the safety component of it. Right. So how do we get those two to safely coexist?
I don't think there's an answer to that. I don't think they do safely coexist. All attitudes about guns aside, the time when you're partaking heavily of alcohol is just not the time to have any type of a weapon.
So I think what you're saying, and I want to make sure we emphasize this point, is that it is a tool for celebration, and it is part of the American culture. But at the end of the day, it is still a weapon.
It's a weapon. It kills, and it's made to kill. And I mean, even shooting it up in the air, those bullets fall down. They do come back down, and you don't know where they're coming down. And they come down with impact. You can kill someone 3 blocks away that you didn't even know was there by shooting up in the air. So, and what if the gun doesn't even make it in the air? What if your youth get the gun? What if, there are so many different negative scenarios. I can't even think of positive. I think the only positive scenario would be that you shoot the gun in the air and nobody gets killed.
You know, which again is the goal, but to your point, we have to be mindful of some of the risks that are involved with celebrating in that way.
Yes.
So to reiterate the point, alcohol and guns don't mix. And we want to be mindful of that, because we could call them stressors and use all the clinical terms, but at the end of the day, people have the potential to get hurt, and that really defeats the whole purpose of celebrating in the first place.
So the coping skill you would use there is to not bring your guns out. That's the way that you would cope. If you're going to have a lot of alcohol, just don't bring the guns out.
So the follow-up question is, are you we're going to move away from that. How do we party responsibly? We're going to party. How do we do it responsibly?
Well, nowadays they have these things called Uber and Lyft, and my suggestion of a way to cope would be to Uber to the party as well as from. Not have designated drivers. Don't party alone. Move around in groups, because there is a potential for you to be harmed out on the streets while you're out there partying. So remember where the exits are in case something happens, and just make sure that you make yourself safe. Keep your ID, your money in a safe place, and be safe out there.
Now, I think the other thing in terms of being safe, I think it's important that we're proactive. You know you're going to be out, have a plan. You know you're going to be drinking, if that's the case, have a plan. You know you're going to have a good time with your family and friends, have a plan.
Have a plan.
Cut.
Sleep over.
So in terms of having a plan, I mean, obviously the idea is to minimize some of the consequences of celebrating irresponsibly.
Yeah. Drink an aspirin. Make sure you eat before you start drinking so that you don't get sick. Don't overdrink. Be prepared to stay the night wherever you are. Those kinds of things make it safe.
Very good. So as we get through the initial party phase of our New Year's stressor, exactly. We also have one of the other traditions that are important, our New Year's resolutions. And I think one of the things that we have to be mindful of, not just from the party perspective, but all the activity that goes on as you're enjoying that time, that holiday season. And some of that comes back in negative ways. I mean, who among us has not overeaten during the holidays? But it's not just gluttony, it's spending. There's a lot of excess. What are some of the ways that we can prepare and cope with regards to managing the excesses that go with the holiday season?
A resolution is usually a time where you're saying, I'm going to stop something, right? Usually you're stopping eating, you're stopping drinking, you're stopping. So the first thing that you need to do is prepare for that resolution. Is it really something that you can just stop? Is it something you gain 30 pounds where it's not going to be easy to get that 30 pounds off, right? It's going to be a step-by-step process that you're going to have to go through, and that's going to be for quitting smoking, quitting drinking. So it would be have a realistic expectation about your New Year's resolution. Don't give up on your New Year's resolution. Say you said you're going to quit smoking and then you smoke a cigarette. Well, you always have another opportunity to quit again. So don't give up on your resolutions quickly, but remember that your resolution is going to change your reality, and you need to be prepared and have your coping skills set up before you make the resolution, again, to hopefully make it successful.
So it's interesting that as you start talking about resolutions and trying to manage it, that we talk about the physical, or that you talk about the physical. But I want to also bring in the financial part. I mean, you have people who not just party, but they want to make sure they have the great outfit, and spending even becomes an element. Because sometimes that's a way of self-medicating. Spend till you bend. But what would you say from a spending perspective, how can you use the vehicle of New Year's resolutions to help manage spending habits?
Or any spending habit, right? Start a budget, a New Year's resolution. Look at your finances and pay more attention to where your spending is going. Don't spend, right? Don't spend money that you don't need to spend or don't have. In our last episode, we talked about being guilted into spending. So at this point, the coping skill would be making reasonable expectations of what you're going to do for the holiday so that you're not going to overwhelm your budget.
Again, we get back to that planning thing that we were talking about earlier. I think as we start seeing some of these stressors approaching us, and hopefully we're giving our viewers a chance to think about it from a proactive standpoint, I want to emphasize the idea of having a positive mindset as you're approaching some of the areas where you may have some regret. Think about starting a good habit as opposed to quitting a bad habit.
Yes. There are usually reasons why we have these habits. They are coping skills. Our habits are coping skills. So instead of saying habit, you could say cope, right? So, and when you have coping, it's for a reason. So what we want to do is look at the reason.
Hold that thought, cut. Yes.
Take my sound and stuff off.
That alarm doesn't, I silence it and the alarm doesn't silence it. Okay,
Wait.
so we're gonna,
Go.
no, wait, just what, so we're gonna, exactly. So we're gonna start with the starting versus quitting. I think we nailed it. So you were talking about coping skills. So, so in terms of incorporating coping skills with that mindset of starting something good versus quitting something bad, I mean, how do you apply that? How do you communicate the ability to apply that?
You know, the most healthy way to quit something is to start something. So if you're going to lose weight and you want to change your diet, then you start exercising, right? If you want to quit smoking, you're going to put things in place that are going to change, and you're going to start exercise again. You're going to put in some different habits or different coping skills in place of the skills that you're letting go of, so that it's not as hard, it doesn't feel as hard. So in life, it's always easier to start than to stop. So mentally, it's a better frame of mind to say, I am going to start looking at my mental health. I'm going to start building my physical health, rather than saying, I'm going to stop drinking and I'm going to stop overeating.
One of the things I've heard that works is, as you're making these behavioral changes, do them in very small amounts. Keep them manageable.
Yes.
How do you feel that works well when we start talking about, again, people coping with some of the gluttony that they end up experiencing over the holidays?
Well, you always, I'm sorry, I went blank. What was the question?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, we're going to get this. We're going to grab this. Okay. One of the things I've heard is that if you're making a personal improvement, you want to be able to do it in smaller amounts, measurable amounts, to be successful. What has your experience been as you work with folks, helping them manage these changes, particularly with the stress of the holidays in the air?
And that is definitely the key. Moderation, right? Moderation throughout your life. Moderation in everything is the best way to live. So if you're going to say you have a goal of 25 pounds, you're going to work at that slowly. You're going to build your diet slowly. You're going to build your physical activity slowly. And you're going to do it in small, measurable ways, right? You're not going to jump in there and do an hour of aerobics right now, because you're going to break down your body, your muscles, the lactic acid is going to come in, you're not going to be able to move the next day, and then there goes your resolution. So you want to do, and if you're going to do physical, start with 5 minutes of continuous physical activity, and then build from there. Do it once or twice a week to start. You have to have, a realistic expectation. While you're doing that, you can work on other things. Why are you overeating is really what it comes down to. Is that a lifestyle change? So then you need to look at, how can I change things in my life that make me want to eat, right? What can I put in place of that cupcake that I'm getting ready? Am I eating a cupcake because I'm lonely? Am I eating a cupcake because, and then work on those issues. If you're lonely, work on that issue. There's a great resource out there online. It's called McGraw's Emotional Intelligence Test. And I ask everyone to take it. McGraw's, McGraw's Emotional Intelligence Test. And there are different activities in there that you can do also to kind of build your skills. But start building yourself emotionally so that you don't need to lean on the coping.
Wow. It's funny how we went from habits into weight gain, once you start getting it. And it's amazing how many people make a New Year's resolution regarding weight, but the flip side is, you didn't get it overnight, it doesn't go away overnight.
And it's usually just not because you want to sit there and eat. There are reasons.
And I guess that's where the coping mechanisms come to combat it. You're really trying to get it at the root, as opposed to just adjust it, the symptom. So while you're approaching the root, what's the best way to keep your enthusiasm, to keep encouraged as you endure the setbacks that will inevitably come?
Endurance, continuing to reaffirm, and applauding and rewarding yourself, right? If you did do the 5 minutes, if you did 3 minutes, you did the 3 minutes. If you and celebrate that 3 minutes that you did do it, and build on it. Never really look at your setbacks as a setback, because nothing is permanent, right? Okay, you didn't work out today. Do it that afternoon. Do it the next day. But remember to try to be accountable so that you can reward yourself. You know, and you can feel good about the things that you're doing. Again, you made the resolution. So find ways within your own personality for you to be able to stay on top of it.
You know, we have people celebrating, we have them meeting their new challenges, but you know, there's also one other component of the holidays that maybe doesn't get as much attention, but I think is important for our audience to grasp. And that's the loneliness that's attached with the holidays.
Yes.
For many people, there's not that party that they have to exit responsibly because for whatever reason they weren't invited or they weren't able to go. When people endure the loneliness, what drives the loneliness? But obviously I want to follow that up with how do you manage the loneliness that is often associated with the holidays?
It comes back to community, to a personal connection, finding people in your area, finding groups that have people that you can go and be around. Starting to make a personal connection with people, not walking through your world, but being in your world, you know, communicating and experiencing each other and people is going to be the way. Again, try the McGraw's emotional intelligence test because it will help you find maybe some things in your personality that you might want to fix to make it easier for you to be in society and to interact. Also, look at different organizations like the Salvation Army, different places like that that are, you know, your veterans associations, places where they're looking to group and build groups and support for lonely people that are out there. But again, to look at that personal connection and go outside of yourself. Make that your resolution. I'm going to build my social skills this year so that I'll be more comfortable around people, right? I'm going to build my, you know, some different skill within myself so that I can improve and go out and be around people.
I think the beauty of being able to stretch your social skills in the way you've articulated is that you have the flexibility of doing it one person at a time. You know, you're not diving into some great bar scene or some big over-the-top party. That personal connection can in fact happen one individual at a time.
There's this app called Meetup, and it's for every different type of hobby, different type of thing that you could think of that you could be into, and others that are into that thing. And you can go online and on Facebook, and it's called Meetup, and you can find different people that are interested in the same things you're interested in that are meeting regularly that you can get involved in.
So, in conclusion, or not, as you're bringing these new skills to light, again, there is this, I guess a purpose is to change your reality. You're using this holiday season to remove some of the stress and create a new reality. And when you're doing that new reality, it doesn't always go smoothly. What tools do you have for our audience to persevere when you hit those minor bumps in the road as you're starting to stretch your comfort zone?
Remember that we're only human, that we do make mistakes, and that you can forgive yourself. You can just move on. Don't take it as seriously as all of that to make or break. There's always gray. Work within the gray. Look at what's going to work with your personality, with your habits, and build a new reality. Make it work. When you're frustrated, remember to ground. Breathe deeply. Think about what you're doing. You can always journal. You can note down what you want to see your perfect future, and then write out another list of how you're going to get there. These types of things can help you refocus so that you're not frustrated with where you are today. Do a scale question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how close are you to your goal? Right? And if you continue to do that, you'll find that you're either moving towards it or away from it, and then it gives you a way of strategizing to keep moving towards your goal. So always knowing where you are within the goal that you're working towards.
Incredible skills, very practical and tangible ideas to prepare for a better new year.
A better new year.
And I think if we can get better new years, better new days, we can definitely work to achieving our resolutions, but more importantly, being more fulfilled as we're growing as people.
And being more aware of your mental health, which is everything. It means everything. It's how often you're going to go to work. It's how you're going to interact with your kids, with your husband. Remembering that coping can build our mental health, and that finding great coping skills of how am I going to deal with my husband even when he's like over there and running his mouth, what am I going to do? Am I going to yell and lash out, or are there other coping skills that I can use? Learning how to cope and breathe within situations in this new year can really benefit your mental health and impact your life positively.
I don't think we can build on that any stronger. Shor, thank you for some very tangible tactics and some wonderful ideas to just have people ready to embrace the new year with less stress and more productivity. Just being ready to have a better new year than the previous one.
Yes. Stay mentally well.
Once again, we have Shor Denny, our subject matter expert. I'm Glenn W. Hunter. We're wishing you the happiest of holidays, and definitely remember to be kind.
Happy New Year!
And that's a wrap. So, your boy's got a little bit of editing to do, but that's why I get paid the big bucks.
That's why you get paid the big bucks. That's what something looks like. This is what my